pulling this one off.
Was a good game. Let's go to game number 2 and see if we get something as equal in terms of caliber. As we head straight into Battlefield of Eternity. Method will choose the battleground. Leftovers have elected to take first pick.
And let's not forget that we actually saw at the Western Clash a 2-0 lead for Method and then a reverse sweep by Leftover. So that's definitely something that they can still pull off here. Method has the first win, but you could tell that Leftovers are pretty strong with this setup. And I come back to the draft. I really, really like that they left Abathur open. We talked about ADRD bingo. Medivh, Abathur, Tacita. It's what Dignitas calls it whenever they are drafting against them. So those are the 3 bans that usually come through. They leave one open. And at first when looking at the draft, I was like, it's actually interesting. You ban Tracer, you don't go for anything here. Abathur ban, I would have expected that to come out earlier, before the second run. But then the Azuna and last pick really was like, okay, now things are coming together. You're trying to make sure that you have good stacking in the early game because you have a 5 versus 4 in terms of bodies on the map. So Leftovers come prepared, and I really want to see what they're going to pull off now. This is a map that Method has chosen, but Leftovers definitely, I think, expected this map to be played in the series. So maybe they have, again, a little bit of a twist towards the draft. But even if they just go for a full team fight composition, I would be very happy with it, because I'm really enjoying the way that these 2 teams clash against each other.
This battleground is in a weird spot when it comes to meta. You do have those team fight compositions that you were just alluding to, but we've also seen a lot of control compositions with the idea of trying to push out a lane on the side and peel off your opponent and try to get an experience lead moving in towards the level 10, and then winning the second mortal phase and getting an aggressive push. So I want to see what's going to be happening between these two, as we still have Hanzo up and available. So far, the Medivh, Abathur, Maiev banned down. Will Hanzo be left open for the Leftovers to grab?
That's a really good question. It's one of the heroes that is incredibly powerful at racing down the objective.
Yeah.
We have seen more of a team fight focus by a lot of the teams where they are saying, yes, Hanzo's amazing, but we are going to try and force fights on you instead. And Diablo gets banned out against Leftovers, and that's actually one of the heroes that was very key to the success of Leftovers at the Western Clash. Mopsio, I mean, that guy only knew one direction and was in. It's like, he never retreated. Yeah. It's like, oh, I have 10% hit points? No problem. And just like dives in and they get another kill on the back of that. It was very impressive to see how aggressive he was and how successful that aggression was for Leftovers. So it doesn't really come as a surprise that Diablo this time gets banned out. And
also, you bringing up Hanzo has been picked up a little bit in the later stages of the draft. Part of that is because of Murden and Yrel and how strong they are in the meta. Their ability to force fights when they want to makes it difficult for Hanzo to set up and just drop those scatter arrows without having to deal with some pressure coming his way. And if you land one Stormbolt or get a slow on him and he doesn't have his natural agility, that's going to be a kill. So you see a Yrel come out for Leftovers, and Method realizing the strength of Yrel and Murden together, they immediately take away their Murden themselves and get Deckard Cain.
And Yrel and Murden, one of the reasons why they have that strength together is the same reason why we oftentimes now see on the Korean side a Nubarak pick together with Yrel, because you have 2 heroes that can dive into the backline, that have a lot of CC available to them, and then the extra armor that is provided. And we already have, with that extra armor, we have Garrosh coming in, we're having Sergeant Hammer, so it's a lot of peel for Hammer and a lot of great tools that Leftovers can use to set themselves up in a very difficult spot to break through, even with a Murden on the other side.
And here comes the Hammer. So buckle in, Caldor, we're going to go 3 miles an hour here as we slowly play through Battlefield of Eternity. It's all about the protection and making sure Hammer can put damage on the Immortal and control the space in the middle of the map. This is something that we saw from Team Freedom, as they actually went into a Medivh Hammer composition and protected them well. Leftovers actually had a face-off against it, and they let people know they weren't fans of it. But hey, they must be fans enough to bring it out here today against Method.
And of course, what we saw at the Western Clash was also a bit of a story of the student surpassing the master, since Mopsio has talked a lot about how much he appreciates ADRD and how much he has learned were playing with ADRD in the past, and just talking to him, how much deeper his understanding of Heroes of the Storm is now, and the way how to play the game. And it's something that he brought over to Leftovers when he joined the team. So that was one of the big stories of the Western Clash. And back then, Mopsio was successful against his old mentor, and now the question just remains, is ADRD taking it back now?
Li Ming comes out, good on this battleground, but also starting to become a bit of an answer to Sergeant Hammer. With Chromie being banned out, Chromie used to be one of the go-tos that you would move into and try to put some damage on her while she's sitting on the side and sieging up and sieging away. Li Ming kind of gives that same ability, sieging with Orms, dropping down some Seeker missiles. You're going to need a strong support to make sure you're able to trade out in terms of mana for health. but Li Ming has always been a solid answer, and you're going to be seeing it more often the more Hammer that we get. Malfurion and Phoenix comes in for a 4th and 5th pickup for the leftovers.
Phoenix again for DAB here. It's just one of the key heroes for him. Same goes for Tracer, but Tracer has taken a couple of hits, so she's not as powerful anymore as she was in the past. And that is definitely reflected in her priority falling significantly.
Now, what do you pick here if you're Method? Do you attempt to go for the macro game? Are you going to be... Okay, they're picking up a Genji here for dive. I was wondering if Tracer might be the answer, but Tracer into Sergeant Hammer is a big question mark.
Also, you have to realize that this is a hero where we are still waiting for ADRD to pick a hero. And
true.
It's not really a hero that he plays Tracer, that is. Genji, on the other hand, that's a different story.
All right, so we got Genji and Li Ming. Li Ming to attempt to try to get a solid combo off, and then Genji to move in and get a kill. It is going to be a difficult game for Meth, but they did show us in game number 1 as their coordination is on point. And of course, you have to hawk on the side. That's always something that you have to worry about if you're running a Hammer composition.
Exactly. It's the normally with the Haka, one of the big thought processes on this map is you want to hit the earlier level 10. That's really what it comes down to. Of course, later on in the game, the Haka still adds a lot of value, but Battlefield of Eternity is a bit different from the 3-lane bigger maps where the Haka usually shows himself. Here, it's really a key that you're trying to get the heroic ability first. That usually happens around the second Immortal. And if that allows you to grab that second Immortal, this is where you are trying to snowball it forward with an extra lead in experience.
All right, so Hammer on this battleground. Will Method be able to stop the train that she has showed off at the Western Clash? Or will Method crumble to the might of the tank? That is the real question here as we get ready for game number 2. Hammer just brings so much of the battleground, control in the middle, the ability to push, and even strong defensive capabilities. Let's go into it. Battlefield of Eternity, Method taking on Leftovers.
Game number 2 as we are heading onto Battlefield of Eternity with Linked on Malfurion. Blake Kidney right now finding himself on Phoenix, Portibos on Urel, Mopsio this time on Garrosh, and DAB again on Phoenix for the 2nd time in a row now.
On the right side in the red, Method. Athero on Dahaka, Nick on Li Ming, Bad Biddy on Murden, Curson on Deckard, and ADRD. Playing Genji? Let's start with this, with Strike build.
I'm kind of hyped for this one. This should be... also, we have an adjustment in the build. So, first of all, the reason why I'm really hyped for this particular one is the series alone is already very exciting since, as we talked about earlier, it's number 3 going up against number 4. Leftovers already defeating Method at the Western Clash and also being very vocal about their ambitions to not only establish themselves within the top of Europe, but also going to BlizzCon. So this is a hugely important series for them, even though playoffs are very realistically something that both of these teams might have to go through. But it's most exciting for me just simply because I want to see how Method is going to deal with this composition here, how they are able to just move into that Hammer setup, especially after we just saw such a well-coordinated game from Method on Volskaya Foundry.
One thing that you can do against Sergeant Hammer composition is make sure to get to the punch before them. If they're looking to rotate, try to find them on their path over to where they want to be and then disrupt them there. If you can force the cooldown trade-outs of Sergeant Hammer and her Unstoppable, of course, and her Siege, and being able to zip away with their thrusters. If you can stop that or at least throw a wrench in the plans, that's how you slow down a composition from Sergeant Hammer and buy time by breaking some damage on the Immortal. And they do have a good Sieger. Li Ming on the Immortal, granted not the best in the game, but one that will slowly break it down.
Also, when we talk about Hammer and how to deal with her, it's not only about that damage output against her, but Murden with Third Wind is trying to make sure that he's able to weave in and out of fights.
Third Wind will allow for him to take some of that poke. And to be honest, unless you're getting hit by Garrosh, how do they lock you down as Murden, right? And that's going to be a misstep on your side of the map. Yeah,
so it's Malfurion with the root and also the taunt later that become a bigger of a threat, but he normally should be able to move in and out of fights at will.
So far, they've been keeping their own Urel in the top lane. The problem with this is if Urel is aware of this push coming your way and you're not able to destroy the turret, Sergeant Hammer is going to shell away the entire time. She's a ticking time bomb. She's looking to take your fort down.
We actually have a rotation where Method is just simply saying, listen, we can't deal with Hammer at that bot lane, so we're just going for pressure at the top. So we're going for a trade instead of trying to set up a defense.
There they go. Turret's taken down. Sergeant Hammer already on the fort, though. They are very happy to start winning this race. Ethereal can't do much here. He can soak, maybe go for a drag, but has to be careful not to get caught by Garrosh. Gets tossed to the side. and locked down, and Method's trying to answer back, but they are just not as fast in terms of racing.
One of the things that this is also going to do is it really accelerates the game, where we are going to see a lot more experience through the first and second Immortal. So the levels are going to be higher. So it's not only a structural question, it's also a question of how fast is this game going to go? When do you hit your level 10? Because as we said before, traditionally with the Haka, you want to have level 10 first during the second Immortal. But with the setup that we're seeing here now, it's very likely that the two teams are actually going to reach that way before the second Immortal phase comes into play.
Solid point. Merc can't start to get grabbed by leftovers. They want to have the bottom lane pushing in. Haka should be able to deal with that. Method, on the other hand, has not started their night camp on the right. They're going to start putting some damage on the Immortal and have leftovers come over and set up, which gives more room for Haka to decide how he wants to proceed with the game.
Yeah,
Combo.
Jaga, the bot lane right now, has to deal also with the camp that was taken earlier. But we have Urel pushing out the top and then immediately rejoining the fight here. So this is where it all comes down to the setup for the hammer composition and the poke that Li Ming can dish out towards either the objective or the sieged up hammer.
Yup. Huge setup for the leftovers, and it's the job of Method to slow it down or figure out a way to break the armor of this composition. Haka comes in, an immediate warp from Black Kidney as he makes sure he doesn't get caught out.
Really nice move again by Mopsio, putting Ethereum in a spot where he can be attacked, but the collapse on the Black Kidney that's starting to jump in deep for this one, trying to go for a kill here, but Black Kidney able to move away. IDRD on the other hand, not that successful. Bad Benny also low as he's attempting to jump out.
Wow, great play there from Body Boss, keeping an eye on Genji, being in a spot where you need to make sure he could follow him up after he jumped up with the Cyber Agility, and then immediately came in with the Avenging Wrath and applied the auto attack to get the kill on Genji. Leftovers turn around, focus the Immortal, and they'll take a lead in the race.
And currently with the setup here, also something that I really haven't talked about. I actually think I even called it wrong when we announced the players here. Black Kidney this time on Phoenix and not DAB, and that shows again how flexible you can be if you have a certain overlap in the hero pool. So DAB always has focused heavily on the auto attackers for the team. That usually meant that he plays Tracer and Phoenix, a couple of others as well as Li Ming, for example. But now that Hammer has been played, he's the one who goes for the auto attacks here, and that shifts Phoenix over to Black Kidney. So that little bit of overlap in hero pools really allows leftovers to draft a bit more flexible.
Yeah, Black Kidney started to show off a little bit how much he can flex if he needs to. He's played Junkrat, he's played Greymane, he's played Maiev, now Phoenix. He's really starting to show that he is a capable player of adjusting for what the team needs.
They actually talked about how with the third ban, they definitely needed to enlarge in the hero pools of some of the players and roles that they had, and this is something that is showcased through it.
Siege comes out from Method. Defense should be alright for them as long as Li Ming continues to focus down this Immortal. But with Sergeant Hammer shelling away, this fort will take some damage. Haka, meanwhile, in the bottom lane, is trying to scurry out as much experience as he can, clearing up that wall and attempting to get some damage on that fort. Stormball comes out as Bad Benny wants to keep leftovers in their attention here.
Ethereum is also moving in from the back, gets the drag against Mopsio. Mopsio is low, Garrosh barely moving out, at least for now, as everyone else is trying to shield him and support him with some cover fire. But here comes the move against Black Kidney. The warp barely gets him out of the battle.
Boss is just making the plays right now so far for leftovers. First off, the kill with the Genji that we saw a couple minutes ago, and there we had a drag from Mopsio, and if that entire duration of the drag actually pulled Mopsio underneath the fort, he would have been picked off. But Boss steps up, knocks back Haka, breaking the drag and allowing for Mopsio to escape.
Rotations from both of the teams now again for the mercenary camp. So after the fight was over, Method immediately had their eyes set on the Khazra camp at the top, as we're seeing here. But Leftovers replied in kind with a rotation down to the bot lane. First of all, because they needed the experience down there and protect their own fort. And second of all, because they are trying to get their own mercenary camp so that they can push this a little bit more against the Haka.
Now, Nick has made an adjustment on Li Ming. Typically, you see Calamity picked up at level 7. We have the Seeker coming online to help out with the Immortals, but it's also one that you can consider if you're playing against stationary targets like Sergeant Hammer. As mentioned before, where Chromie was that one that you would pick up against Sergeant Hammer to shut away, this is where Li Ming can shine. If she's able to land those Seekers and help chunk down the opposing target and buy more space for Genji to move in and get that kill. We'll see if it pays off. Some would argue that Calamity allows for you to have that snowball moment, right, where you get the kills.
Yeah. The problem with Calamity here is that in order to even get into Calamity range, you have to get into Hammer range very early. So with Seeker, you have a chance of poking more from the outside, whereas Calamity forces you to be a little bit more closer to the action and going up against not only the salvo on Phoenix and the auto attacks, but Sergeant Hammer and potential interrupts through Garrosh, Urel, and Malfurion. I feel this was just a bit of a safer poke build that we have from Nick.
No, this is something that we also saw from Cohen yesterday. He went Calamity, but he went into Glass Cannon to get Sergeant Hammer yesterday. The idea being that you're never going to be in a spot where Sergeant Hammer is getting too close to force herself. Bit of a discussion between teams and, of course, players.
I mean, against Phoenix, I would very much advise against Glass Cannon, because if that salvo hits you, you are going to suffer.
That's true. Well, Siege begins as DAB continues to pop in, but look at that, actually. Nick gets off a Seeker, it chunks DAB, and immediately ADRD goes in with a Swift Strike, and DAB has to back up. This gives room for Method to step up and put some damage on their own Immortal.
It was really nice aggression by ADRD, and it forced Sergeant Hammer back, so that allows Method to move forward. But here come those level 10 abilities that we talked about. Again, experience is slightly accelerated throughout all of this, so we get the level 10 a little bit earlier than you would usually get, and both get it at the same time. So currently, the Haka hasn't really added too much for Method yet. But of course, now with level 10, isolation can be definitely the deciding factor in one of these fights. Nice roots here against Murden, though, as we have damage pushed onto ADRD as he's trying to engage against Blakidney.
Blakidney finds some damage on ADRD. Curson's there with the potions. Blakidney's shields are low, but they're starting to regenerate as, again, we go back to the same page. Leftovers sieging up and sieging away on this Immortal. Slight lead here. Here comes a scroll, locking down DAB, and again, another Seeker hit. You'd love to hear that sound. Yeah,
that's actually Nick just doing work for the team right now. Once again, he has chunked Hammer low, and that forces DAB to Hearthstone back. At least he started the Hearthstone. But now that he gets healed up by Linked again, he needs to re-engage into the fight. But he definitely pushed Leftovers back. They had a very nice sieged up position against the Immortal on of Method. But with all those shots coming through from Nick, he's just doing absolutely fantastic to control the position of Sergeant Hammer.
And Method finds himself ahead in the Immortal race. He hit the halftime show, and they immediately set up for defense. Dahaka goes back to pushing out the top lane. Same time, we have Phoenix doing the same in the bottom lane as DAB slowly creeps up. Again, as level 4 coming back online with that cooldown being finished up.
And here comes again, DAB slowly edging forward. Vision is provided, Boss and Mobsio are anchoring the play and creating the space here. And now Method has to once again try and find an opening here. It's their job to find a good solution. Well, the Kidney goes in deep from the side, though. They're trying to force the engage here as Ethereal already goes for the burrow. AD already jumping in deep, and they're getting the kill against Malfurion just as he was trying to keep his teammates in play with Tranquility.
Yeah, he tried to keep the Tranquility up, and here's a drag too. Black Kidney will be the next target, and now we have resets coming in from Nick. The Leftovers have to back up. DAB will unsiege and start to retreat, and that gives time for Method to turn around and win this Immortal race.
Yeah, Leftovers definitely with a more aggressive move than I expected after they had the Sergeant Hammer position set up again. I feel like they felt they can't deal with all the poke that comes out from Li Ming and have to make some additional plays, but that situation definitely backfired heavily.
So now Method has a push with the Immortal race. It's going to be going in the bottom lane. They can grab the fort, and they're going to start jumping up in experience and moving towards that 13. And they also have the option to keep Dahak in the top lane and rotate in for a flank if Yrel is to answer him. So far, Yrel is there in the top lane. So Method may have an opportunity to force the fight. Now, Yrel decides to start rotating back. Knows he has to be careful due to what Dahaka is capable of.
And the Haka is going to get that extra soak, and that would mean level 13 if they play their cards right, especially with a fort at the bot lane now being attacked. That's a lot of experience that Method can now potentially grab within the next 20 seconds.
Big throw. Babidi goes in, drops the Avatar instantly. Does not want to deal with the taunt coming out. Taunt actually does hit straight on top of Curse, and Babidi is low on health. Can he get out? Dahaka's rotating in. Here's a thorough. He gets the isolation straight onto Link. Can they clean him up? Nick wants that reset, but here's the Tranquility.
Fantastic salvo earlier to start the fight off. Murden falls, but then we are having Malfurion and Garrosh eliminated. Genji falls too, though. AD already completely taken apart here as Boss is still trying to escape. Might actually be able to keep himself alive for a bit longer, but a 2-for-2 trade here as the Leftovers are battling the Immortal and the heavy attack that comes from Method.
Li Ming and Curson still attempting to get Boss. He eventually will fall. Staggered death, but one that shouldn't be too worrisome for the Leftovers. They did clean up the Immortal, and they're about to hit level 13. Overall, a bit of a brawl, but I would say it works out for Leftovers there. Get the defense. Sure, they lost 3 people.
It keeps them in the game.
Keeps them in the game.
It's one of those situations where you at least are now able to fight on level 13 talents, and you're not too far behind yet. You're half a level behind, a little bit more in experience, but you haven't lost the key. You can make an argument for maybe Yrel even trying to die a little bit faster, so that they are back with 5 heroes on the map a little bit quicker. But of course, the initial thought process was to just distract the Method from moving in and pushing or continuing to push with the Immortal. But then Yrel maybe even not trying to escape here when she realized, okay, I'm going to die eventually, would have brought her back a little bit quicker. Not really a big consequence here, but we have no leftovers trying to just simply exploit the fact that they have this hammer going in, but also the Hawkeye again with another isolation.
Ooh, gets the isolation off on him. We'll have the Nature's Cure coming out too. ADRD goes forward, goes straight in for Link, but the salvo does connect.
He's in trouble.
Optio comes in with a taunt, and he is just locked down. ADRD going for a direct dive, it just does not pay off for him.
Phoenix, on the other hand, is also in a lot of pain here. Hammer comes through with VFG, gets the damage in. Polyboss jumping out, but this fight is looking good for leftovers. A lot of damage coming out of the DAB in particular. Tranquility keeping everyone alive as they are getting the kill against Genji, but they have to react to the bot lane. If not for that, they could have gone through the fort top side. But with that Kazura camp pushing through bottom of the map, they had to split Urel off, and they weren't really willing to engage into a 4 versus 4 at the top.
Speaking of damage numbers, sitting at Sergeant Hammer right now, sitting at 30 to 1,000 hero damage. But actually, the #1 in the game right now is Li Ming. Nick, with the constant pokes, the Seeker coming online, really helping out with him on the Immortal phase.
If you have a stationary target like Sergeant Hammer, or a fairly stationary target, you just get so much Seeker value. Talking about value, Bad Benny jumping in deep, and he gets chunked down very, very quickly here. Was a good setup from leftovers, but Black Kidney also lost a lot of HP as we had immediately the turnaround attempt by Li Ming setting off combos.
Now top lane's already pushing in. Leftovers need to make a decision if they want to force the fight now or head back and defend, while Dahaka's already on the bottom lane, working on that 16, but also clearing up the camp that was grabbed by leftovers. Leftovers having a bit of an indecision right now, trying to decide if they can force the fight. Eventually they will pull back Black Kidney, and of course Urel to deal with that top lane.
And they're pushing, or they're splitting off 2, and I actually like that. That will allow Method to now get some damage onto the Immortal, but it makes the defense a lot quicker. And at that point, Method didn't know how many heroes were split. Mopsio still was peeling a lot on that Immortal, but he had a lot of oh my god, isolation actually missing here. As we see the Haka getting rooted, the salvo is coming out too. Mopsio still a bit low, but he's trying to go for it, and he's getting close. That flip could have been the end of the Haka here, but Mopsio doesn't get it off.
An isolation was heading straight for Linked, just barely missed it. Field goal, 3 points going to Method, but no kills. Bad Benny turns around, drops down the Thunderclap, goes for the jump actually, and gets hit with a taunt. Bad Benny's locked down, using the Avatar to try and stay alive, getting the potions from Curson. Can Bad Benny get out? The answer is no, while ADRD attempted to get Sergeant Hammer low on health.
What a hard-fought kill here for leftovers. Muradin nearly escaping, but now Curson dies too. It's a double kill as the leftovers definitely are showing a lot of aggression, trying to go for the triple with Ethereal being slowed down and body blocked as well. The Haka is dead, and that's the triple kill here as we see leftovers about to grab a lead in experience, doing a fantastic job on the Immortal, and Polyboss still zoning the team. Great fight here, again, and good coordination on both sides. But that kill against Muradin is really what started this entire cascade of kills in favor of leftovers.
And against an experienced lead over to leftovers, they have 2 waves of soak, one on the top and one on the bottom. They should be able to hit that level 16 if they want to peel off, but they set up for an aggressive push on the Immortal as it spawns in aggressive positions here. Same will be said for Method on the right side, but leftovers should be able to grab this Immortal.
Yeah, they should definitely be able to get this one. And they will be in a position where the top fort is not going to be an obstacle. That thing is basically dead.
Yeah.
They have level 16, so does Method. So this is definitely an opportunity to maybe even make a play for the keep.
This is the part where Sergeant Hammer really comes online. 13 was a great power spike for her too, being able to get that.
Oh, 16.
Boosters out. 16, the Giant Killer, coming online against a Muradin, a hero that's already had a difficult time. If we can find another taunt right when he's trying to jump in there, that guy is going to be deleted.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Muradin already suffers a bit at all the CC that comes out from leftovers. How many times have we now seen Mopsio throwing Muradin in deep into the roots and then following it up with a taunt once that he's starting to move out? But now you have Sergeant Hammer doing even more damage against him. That talent here is definitely a nightmare for Bad Benny at the front line of Method.
Now with that being said, looking over to Method, that Mirror Ball coming online for Li Ming, who also went Cannoneer, by the way, so looking to get that extra auto attack damage in there for spell power, helps her delete the Immortal, and the Immortal gets cleaned up quick.
Oh yeah, it was a really nice defense here. I mean, leftovers had a chance to make a play for keep, but only if they can pressure heroes and set up a kill, for example. That didn't really happen, and Method just did a great job as chunking down the Immortal very, very quickly, saved the keep, but leftovers have taken that small lead in experience. Here comes the flank, though, as Bad Benny is going in again. Good moves by Polyboss, but the Haka is also in the mix now, as we're seeing once again the problems of Deckard Cain. The old man is going down as the leftovers are just bullying the elderly.
clipped and taken out. ADRD goes in looking for the kill on top of Garrosh, but that armor is helping out, and of course the kills coming in there. Malfurion keeps him alive. Link helping out Garrosh. It's going to be a pick of 2 as Method thought they had to turn that fight around, and now they are retreating with the tail between their legs.
And that's the opportunity for Leftovers to get that keep after all. The double kill against Deckard Cain and Genji was just fantastic, and the Leftovers are starting to move in here. Nick is trying to fire away with his Seekers as much as he can, but this is definitely a very, very tough situation for them right now. No way to hold on to that keep.
Leftovers are sinking their teeth into this keep, and they will be able to grab it. Shouldn't be able to push too much more here. Although they do get some damage here with DAB. Thero and crew are going to back them up. Now, with that keep being down, sure, it hurts. You have catapults coming in the Immortal phase, but that saving grace of having a Dahaka on your team, he'll be able to handle those, keep that lane pushed out, and come in at the right moment.
But this is now a time where you can actually start to play the game even slower, since you have an entire level lead. So you can really just play for level 20 if you're the Leftovers, and that's a massive asset for them. You're absolutely right that Dahaka offsets the loss of the keep to an extent, but it's still a problem for Method, especially with that level 20 going to be reached by Leftovers quicker than by them. So Leftovers can now make a choice of how fast they want to play this objective.
Method immediately jumps in the Immortal, starting to get an edge on the race, but Leftovers start to answer back, and they are closing that gap quickly. The Immortal race actually goes over into the favor of Method, just barely though. It was a few seconds behind Leftovers were in terms of getting on that Immortal, but they almost closed it just in time, and now they're set up.
I honestly feel we're coming back to the level 16 talents here, especially the Giant Killer for Sergeant Hammer. He's just doing so much work here right now, as we talked about earlier. It's just very difficult for Muradin and Dahaka at this point to make an engage happen. If they fail to connect their CCs, then they get punished immediately for it. And that's a huge problem, especially since Muradin doesn't have his quest completed yet. He's on 23 stacks, and that means that he just doesn't get the Pierce, and he also does not get the extra cooldown reduction.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized Nick actually has Fireflies at level 16. It's not the Mirror Ball I thought it was originally. He is actually just going for that cooldown reduction, which allows for him to keep showing away. Also, the mana cost has been reduced as well. I was wondering why he was throwing out so many Qs so quickly. He is just looking to put DAB on the back foot with this constant siege.
And they're getting the damage in here.
Whoa, Black Kidney!
On Black Kidney, and he goes down. Perfect engage against by Method as they are trying to turn this around. Bad Benny has suffered a lot of damage, but now the isolation is hitting Urel. She barely gets out. Tranquility used as the Leftovers are staying alive for the time being. Big push through the top lane, but Method is now in a 5 versus 4.
They're in a 5v4. They're still setting up for defense, so they don't want to give up this Immortal too easily. They have catapults pushing in the top lane. Method feeling frantic, needs to get on top of this Immortal. They'll be taking some core damage. ADRD jumps in. Immediately the Unstoppable comes out for DAB as he boosts away from the fight. Mopsio holds that front line and gets hit with a drag.
Leftovers are playing for time here. 25 seconds until Phoenix is back. Catapults on the core. Method will have to split someone off, but they're still looking for the engage instead, trying to get that additional kill.
Bad Benny moving in here, has popped the Avatar as well, finds the store ball, but the immediate Indomitable comes out from Mopsio. He does not get locked down, but they have created space, and this space allows for them to take the Immortal, and they'll get a healthy one too with 23,000 health. Going to be translating straight over to shields.
87% on the core of Method as the catapults have been chunking away, but now the minion wave clears it out. Leftovers themselves are close to 20. So for Method, this is one of those situations where you get the objective, but what can you actually do with it? How aggressively can you push? And look at Leftovers. Just not afraid. They anchor the play here with Garrosh, but they move out immediately to burn that Immortal early, since Method is trying to split on 2 lanes to get at least a keep out of this.
Exactly. You have 2 options. You wait for your opponent to see what exactly they're doing. Are they defending the Immortal push? And if they put multiple members in that push, you go for the off lane. You go for the minion waves, and you try to close that experience gap. Leftovers answer quickly, though. They bring 3 down, 4 down, as they want to slow down their keep from getting siege away, but this gives more time for that Immortal to do well in the top lane. Dahaka is going to bolster that out, so Method will be able to hit 20 at the same time as the Leftovers.
Yeah, they will be able to pull that off. The question just simply remains how much is going to fall here, because we could end up in a scenario where Leftovers lose both keeps now.
Yeah. Nick is sieging away like crazy. Those Fireflies helping out. This Immortal by itself, Sergeant Hammer was not able to destroy it by herself. This is a 21-minute Immortal.
And this is a moment where you have to ask yourself, would it have been better to just simply sacrifice the top keep, let the Immortal push onto the core, and let the core deal with it, and instead just simply defend the bottom keep, because it's already very low, and if Method at any point is able to move onto it, they might be able to destroy it as well.
A question that Leftovers may ask themselves later on. as we are now in a spot where there's catapult pressure in top lane for both of our teams. Method has the lead on the keep in the bottom left, but it still stands, so no catapults there. 20-20 for each of them. But Method's feeling comfortable. They are sitting on the map, they are controlling their side of the battleground and also pushing forward into the leftovers.
Meridian has now rewind, and Bad Benny has shown fantastic setups already through the stuns. If he has the double Stormbolt here, that is a huge threat, especially to Sergeant Hammer, who went for the Ultra Capacitors on level 20 now. Here comes Meridian. Again, they're trying to go for him, but Mobstio is low, trying to move in and get a kill here. Tranquility is already through, the salvo comes out, but the Contagion is hitting as Aethero is making the play.
He hits multiple members. Mobstio's low on health, but able to get the shield thanks to his level 13. ADRD, though, gets stomped by Potty Boss as he jumps straight on in, and Method will have to consider backing up. Potty Boss wants to chase, but a Stormbolt comes out instantly to stop him in his tracks.
There's just so many things to talk about here. ADRD is getting punished hard whenever he makes an engage and it doesn't immediately work out for him. He has died 5 times. ADRD is really the punching ball on the side of Method for the leftovers. They look for him, they try to punish him whenever he makes an engage, and they do a fantastic job with it. But we also have to highlight Nick. Nick is doing so much work with his combo of Seeker and Fireflies that he currently has here. It is absolutely stellar. It's not only a tool against Hammer, he's just able to chunk anyone down. Mobstio is suffering at his hands a lot, and Nick just always finds that perfect angle to connect the 3.
Tall Rasha elements coming online for level 20 instead of the Wave of Force that you typically see from Aliming, looking for that additional damage as he cycles out his combos, attempting to get that Immortal lower and lower. And already they start the race here. They realize they're going to lose out on this halftime show with them not having Genji, so they just get what they can, the consolation prize, which is going to be a hefty amount of health taken out. Mobstio comes over and sneaks up for Aethero. Aethero is slow. He will get tossed. He still has that burrow available. He turns around and drops the isolation.
Yeah, Contagion has been used, going in again, but that's a big cooldown that has just now been burned, down for a minute. So another advantage for the leftovers as they're angling for the position again.
The Lornado had to get used. Curson backs up, so does the rest of Method. Genji has to clear up the bottom lane, but that gives leftovers time to run over and start the race.
That was a massive problem. The Haka just had to use his ult. It's a huge issue. This is one of the best tools that they have for engage. So now it really all hinges on Bad Benny to get that Stormbolt set up, and maybe the Haka following it up with a drag. But that was a massive ult that was used, and it's down for another 25 seconds. And that is time that leftovers can now use to get this Immortal.
Meanwhile, top lane is pushing in, but Kitty steps up and drops the salvo, wants to get Method weakened and pull them back so they can decide if they want to go for a push. On the side, we have a taunt coming out as Aethero gets focused down. Aethero's low in health. His essence has been popped as he wants to stay alive.
Burrow just barely being used here. Avatar also popped, so does the Tranquility.
The core.
Both of them just going for everything here, but the core on the side of leftovers is definitely taking some damage right now. Eventually, they have to react to it, but they're still looking for that fight. They're still looking for the objective.
It's his catapults at 25 minutes, and they're starting to get through those shields. They'll start to pop pretty soon here. The minion wave also getting through as well, so leftovers have to consider moving back and defending that. Uriel already peels off, but Method realizes the leftovers have backed up, and they smell blood in the water. They step up, and they go for a Stormbolt. They go for a drag, and they jump on Blackenine.
Really nice play here by Mobstio again, saving Phoenix, and now the turnaround attempt. The catapults have been cleaned up, 92% on the core, losing a few of those HP points, but leftovers now with a re-engage towards the Immortal. They're trying to burn it down, they're burning it down quickly. The Haka and Liming are both missing, and that's the chance that the leftovers have been waiting for.
The Immortal continues to get focused down, and Bad Benny has to make a play. He jumps in, and he goes for the Stormbolt. Mobstio controls space. Here comes the taunt, and Bad Benny is done. Potybuzz jumps in as he looks for more.
Bad Benny down, and that comes at the cost of him losing, not hitting the Stormbolt. Curson also dying here. Genji moving in again, but here's ADRD nearly stunned out by Garrosh. Not quite working out, but there's the 5 versus 3 now for the leftovers. Bad Benny making the move, missing the Stormbolt, and then immediately finding himself in that awkward position where Mobstio can go for the taunt, and then with the Ultra Capacitors and the Giant Killer, Hammer is just shelling away. Phoenix is moving in as well, and the kill is secured against Muradin. Deckard follows shortly after, and now we have a massive push here for leftovers, but Method is trying to threaten a backdoor and force them back.
They have to. Nick comes over here, his body bots for the defense, Aethero here as well, ADRD starting to back up too.
Realizing
they're in a weird situation.
TPs.
This is game over. Leftovers can just sneak their way on over straight to the core. 87% left on the core from shots earlier. Method comes over and attempts to jump on top of the core. There will be a couple of catapults to help out, but already Method is down to 60, down to 50, down to 40 on their own core as Sergeant Hammer continues to shell away, and the leftovers will tie up the series as we head to a game 3.
Absolutely fantastic second game in this series right now. A 1-1, a tie, and we just had such a great game.
Yeah.
So many cool adjustments on both sides, with Fireflies coming through on Li Ming, going into Seeker, of course, like the 2 talents, level 7 and 16 here, with a lot of synergy, trying to just take Hammer down and force DAB out of position over and over again. Muradin then, with the jumping in after the rewind comes through, the double storm bolts, but Garrosh with the taunts against him when he goes a bit too deep, but also looking to punish Genji when AD already oversteps. Extremely well done on both sides here, and we have a tie in the series, and this series is everything that we hope for.
Yeah, Bad Benny was in a situation where he had to make that play at the end, too. You can't fault him for it. With the Immortal about to fall, you know it's Sergeant Hammer's be pushing in, you're probably going to lose the game there. So he went in for the aggressive engage, but Leftovers had the trap set up. They knew he wanted to force that fight. They decided to step it, get that massive taunt in, as mentioned by Caldor, and they get the victory. A beautiful game between these two, and already shaping up to be a solid best of 5 for our Saturday.
I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait for game number 3, and I hope this goes the full distance. It's definitely what this series needs. And as we said before, it's not only the story of, again, the pupil going up against the master, where the Mobsu are actually taking down ADRD at the Western Clash, but it's just this constant battle between two teams that are trying to go, first of all, to BlizzCon, but also aiming for a very good spot for the playoffs to make exactly that happen. So a really cool match so far, and yeah, can't wait for game number 3.
Well, let's keep the train rolling here. Let's go ahead and head to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with game number 3 in this best of 5 series.